Vahu, your question again was
My question was that
sharing stories.
about the beautiful women.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, back there. Okay.
Like there's some beautiful women out there that don't go on, and then like they actually want to get approached by men, but they don't because men are so intimidated by them. Don't go on, But really, they want a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would start with, reframing how you think about those type of things. Sorry, I'm putting on my glasses too because it's bright.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah.
So yeah, I would reframe about how we're thinking about that whole scenario, because the reality is, I mean, beauty is really, it's in the eye of the beholder. Just somebody you think that is beautiful, I might not think she is, bro. And the same way, likewise.
That's true.
But we need to take away that mentality, and then from there, you're right. Like you should be approaching things like they do want to have conversations. The reality is, guys, nobody's going and approaching them, and that's why it's easier for people like myself who do that and not scared.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate the cliche or that fear that they have of this like this the movement, like, oh, you can't be catcalling and stuff like that. Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't be doing that. Catcalling is, just so people know, is when you're like far away and saying, hey girl, all this bull stuff when that's catcalling. But approaching somebody like a human being, like, hey,
Human too.
I just saw you just look so cute, or how you doing? I just want to say hi. That's different. You see the difference? I'm not yelling across the street. I'm going there and trying to catch their attention and say, hey, hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
So how would you approach that with a tone? Would you say, like, are you gonna be like excited to like
Yeah, you're gonna
approach them, or you gotta be
have
like
to
calm,
set an
like pretty
example.
cool, like 007 James Bond? Hey,
แค่ไปถามมันก่อน
No, it's not as complicated as you guys make it seem,
I
man.
saw you from across the room.
Right. So, right. I get what you're saying. I would say, certain scenarios call for that, bro. I ain't gonna lie. But
Oh yeah.
but for the most part, no. It's just being a really unique version of yourself. The version of yourself that believes that, hey, this person is going to like me. Like, and I approach everything like that.
the belief,
Imagine going to a boxing ring thinking you're gonna lose. Like, no, you're about to compete. You go in there with the mindset you're gonna win.
Right.
That's the kind of mentality you guys have to have, and that's where we're seeing a lot of guys struggle, is because everything they're doing is wrong, and that's what I'm saying, And so I always say, I can't help you like right now, because I have to usually see things happen. So I have an immersion course where we actually go out together, and actually see how you do things,
We gotta do this
Yeah.
live one of these days.
After this conversation, let's like go to the mall and
Right.
So it is.
do a-
It is
a
Friday.
blooper?
We could. We could actually do it.
Yeah.
We just have hidden cameras on you.
but then that would definitely be a good exercise. Just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the mall today. Just talk to like 3 people and say, hey, how's your day? Your hair looks nice. That's
Right.
like
Yeah.
simple, right?
Yeah, it's those type of
Simple
it's
stuff.
just little things like that, and we need to get away from this idea
Yeah.
that, especially in the Hmong community, this is the thing I'm seeing right now. And I talk to people, and this is what's always happening. It's like, I always got to go to the bar to meet people, and I always got to go clubs. I always got to go to EDM parties.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, I was like, why? We have to get away from this idea that they're only in one place. And I talked about this in one of my videos, especially the first video. I talk about this. It's just like, guys, that's what's hurting you guys. If you approach life that way, then you're only going to think that they exist over there, but gosh, you would be, I always say this joke, and it's not really a joke, but it's the reality. And guys are like, hey, where are you meeting all these women? And I was like, there's this place. I'll tell you the secret right now. I'll tell you exactly where you can find them. There's this place. It's called Earth. And in Earth, there's 3.6 billion women, right?
Okay.
And guess what? They happen to be outside right now walking at that street. They happen to be on the way to the gas station, when I go get gas. They happen to be at Target when I need to go get some, plates or whatever, napkins. Did you know that they're everywhere? And so I say that to throw a jab and make them see reality differently. Because right now, their reality is they have to go to some place, this place where a bunch of people are. When in reality is, it's going to be tough. When girls go out together, they're not really trying to talk to you too, most of the time, but not that they won't, but I mean, they're doing their own things, So I say all that to say this, guys, like, open your mind to different possibilities. That's why I say that.
give us one of your pick-up lines. Do you have any pick-up lines?
Yeah, it's the best one ever. It's the best. I want everybody to use it.
All right.
Hey, how's it going? How you doing? That's it.
Really?
It's just hi. We like to think that it's this elaborate type of thing that's going to blow their world away.
Okay.
But what it really is just noticing things, certain aspects of them, or hey, I noticed that book you're reading. You tell me more about that. It seems so cool. Like gosh, what is that? What is it about? Oh, science. I love science. It's just about being present.
Yeah.
Most people are not present. They're in your own mind, right? You're always in your own mind thinking of, and I call it your imaginary mind, where you're just in la la land.
No.
You've already created this scenario in your head about certain things, but you haven't done it in real life with people interacting, and that's what always kills people. So yeah, I mean, I wish I could give you a better answer, bro. But I just go through. I live in the moment, you know what I mean? And yeah, I do have what they call canned lines, where it's like certain things I like to say based on scenarios. But I don't like telling people exact lines, and I'll tell you why. It's like you won't be able to say something the way I say it, Just like if I'm gonna do you're a personal trainer. If I was gonna do a power clean, right? I mean, my body type is different. The form is a certain way, but it's going to be different because I'm just a different body type.
Right.
So it's hard to say. I don't like saying to people, oh, it's got to be exactly like that. I mean, shit, I wish I could throw a jab like Mayweather, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have his body type and certain things that he has. So it's not good to copy that. It's good to kind of make it your own. Does that make sense? So that's what I really tell people. Like, what's the best pickup line and things like that. No, it starts with going, and doing, Yeah, you might lose, yeah, it might suck, but you're actually going to gain something from that, depending on what you take away from it. So, yeah.
So lose, but be aloof, right? Like it didn't faze me.
Yeah,
It didn't bother
yeah.
me. Yeah. One thing that I used to do when I went to the New Year, and then yo te digo, I didn't go, like
No,
I-
sure.
yeah, and
Sure,
then like
sure.
I would like usually go to like usually like where they look and then I would usually just go up to them. I'd just be like, "Hey, I need help, please." And I wouldn't look at them. I would just look at the food or the movies, or whatever. I was like, "Sure, what do you need help with?" And I would just look up to them like, "Your name?" That's what I would say. And then they would usually just laugh. And then if I would get rejected or not, like it was just funny. So you kind of have to make it fun,
So what we call that is like indirect. We call that like an indirect approach type thing.
Yeah. It kind of like surprises them. What?
Yeah.
This guy's an idiot.
I can, I can
I'm just
see
saying,
what you were
like-
trying to do, but I think it's a better way, bro.
Hey man, it used to work with me.
Hey, as
So,
long as you're happy with it.
like you say, everybody's different, but it worked for me.
Right, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what's up.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny to bring up. That's all.
Approach them so they.
But then let's talk about how you got into what you were doing though.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I'm glad you bring that up. I'll be honest, man. I was already in my own world, kind of just busy doing what I wanted to do, just kind of living life. But the reason why I got into this, I felt like I was kind of like compelled to do it because I just started seeing too many things happening. We live in a very unique society right now, where like social media and all that stuff, we're all aware of those things. But once they started doing all these studies and seeing all these, I started seeing all these correlations, connecting the dots with what I'm seeing on a regular basis. Because I'm out here, I'm doing things. There's like 5, I can go on and on, but I'll start with these basic things that really compelled me to get into this, which is this. Like one in 3 guys are sexless, ages 18 and 36. And we'll get to why that's important. You'll think some people might think, why is that a big deal? But I'll explain that. The other part is we are now entering what they call a loneliness epidemic, and NPR did a whole story on this. And what that really means is people are feeling more alone and isolated than ever. Now you would think, why is that? How is that possible? Like we're able to connect all the time,
Right.
Through
social media.
But it unfortunately didn't work out the way we thought, right? And so that's a huge thing right now. Now there's that, and then we see domestic violence issues, especially in the Hmong community, all the time. And then we think, damn, why is that always happening, or why does that happen? And there's various reasons. It's not, you can't point it to one exact thing, right? But I say all of these things, and this is just scratching the surface, because there's more. But I say all these things to say this: I believe that when you peel all the layers down, would somebody really, like, someone who has good communication skills, somebody who's interacting with human beings on a regular basis, would you know, you probably would have less domestic violence. Think about it, right? You probably would have less sexlessness if you know what you're doing out there and, you know, connecting with individuals that want to be there with you, you know? And you probably might feel less lonely if you're actually out there talking with people in real life instead of on our phones. How many times have you guys been on restaurants and, you know, all your friends are just doing this, right? Like we've lost the ability to kind of connect with other human beings. And until we acknowledge that, and this gap, these issues that I'm talking about, they're just going to get bigger. That's what I felt. That's why I felt compelled to do this, right? The other reason, there's also more reasons, but this is a really important reason why I had to start doing this, is because I'm seeing too much BS out there. This is what I mean by that. People who are talking about these issues, but like I can't connect with it because I know the truth, right? You know, when I say I know the truth, it's like I'm out there doing things, you know? And so when people lead with these cliches and these lies of, it's only looks that matter, that's going to get you girls. See, that's something that I can't stand by because it's not true, you know? And so I had to start speaking for everybody else who don't understand that, and they start believing that. What happens to them when they start believing that? They're going to be even more isolated because they think they look ugly, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's all these things. It's misinformation. And then it's, you know, all of these stats and all these studies that are happening talking about these issues. But I believe that there's a correlation. If you become a better human being in how you interact and connect with other people, you will not have these problems as much. Not saying that it won't happen, you know, but it's going to be a buffer to help you get there, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, yeah, I hope that makes sense, because that's really what drew me into it, and that's why I became more passionate about doing it. I didn't really want to do it, be honest with you guys. I was just busy living life and doing what I wanted to do. But I was like, dude, I can't stand by, you know, these lies and these things that hurt people's ability to like achieve things when you're making up these stuff that is not true, you know? And there's too many people like that, I believe, with other podcasts and how we, you know, ingest information. But I don't know. I digress. I'm going too much.
So, have you ever got your heart broken?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like maybe you have. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's from that though, guys. It's like what you do with that. What do you do with that? Do you just be sad about it? Do you be angry about it? I'm sure we all go through that whole thing. But what I try to teach people is, it's about overcoming those things, right? I mean, I always tell women when I have conversations with them, and we're talking about things, and they're like, gosh, you speak so much about like certain things. Like, have you been hurt before? It's like, yeah, we've all been hurt before, but like, what do you do with it? And what I did with it is I figured out how to do better. You know, imagine putting your hand over fire. You get burnt once. What do? Do you put it back on there? No, you figure out how to use that, leverage that, right? You can do great things with it, you know? So I don't know. I don't know what that meant when you say, have you been like hurt before? I don't know what that has to do with anything. We're talking about, like, I get it. Yeah, we all have, you know? It just depends on what, I guess, you know.
I just thought that maybe like you've been like heartbroken before, and then that's probably what got you into the field. Is that a part of it?
No. I've always loved human beings and how we like socialize.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I think about our culture too, right? The way that among Kiwis, when we came from villages, the way that we did that, the way that we worked together, like we live in America now, so it's a little bit different. And so we're learning how to do that now, relearn how to do that in a different way in America, right? And it's not the same way. It's totally different. I think it's for the best, but we still have to adapt. That's why our culture, when you see like, you know, how we do things now, Wanengs are changing and transforming. When I was a kid, we see how Wanengs are then versus now, totally different. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I completely agree.
You know, funerals when they were there, now they're a little bit different too. Marriages a little bit different too, right? So I've always been fascinated with like seeing that transition. So I don't know, they're all kind of hand in hand.
What else have you seen that is like a false from other people, Lahaina, and it's like it's not true, and you're like, that's complete baloney.
I mean, we covered some of it, but it's just when it comes to attraction, that thing is
okay.
Man, that boils my blood. And it's because people are only using their own viewpoints on it, you know, and they're going with what society or what Hollywood says when it's not the reality. You know, again, we talked about it. If you think that it's just like this idea of money and looks, you know, like that's just a tool. I know so many guys, dude. I have so many stories to tell, dude, of guys who have way more money than me. But I don't have a problem, you know. Those girls are happy to choose me.
Yeah.
You want to know why? The reason why is because maybe I just communicated a little bit better. That's what they told me. They said, dude, this guy came over here just flashing, telling me about all his cars and stuff like that. But he was fucking weird, dude. That's what they would say.
Yeah, that is weird.
What about the women that like, or the girls that like always follows the jerk? Always like the jerk, you know, and then
The jocks.
yeah, the jobs. And then
Jackasses.
I was a nerd. Sure was a fighter.
I was.
Well, those kind of things.
There's a reason why I'm a fighter too.
Yeah.
We're not talking about me today. So.
I mean, women will always like what they like. I always tell guys,
Bad boys.
I always tell guys that, you know, I wouldn't be too caught up about that. Focus on yourself and, you know, what the kind of tools you need to have. Because when you start building things and you start actually taking attempts and actually doing things, it changes, you know?
Yeah.
You say, oh, what about those girls that just like those jocks? Well, I'll go a step further. What about those girls that like jocks, but then all of a sudden they start liking nerds? You know, maybe it was just that nerd. They needed that special nerd to show up a certain way.
Life didn't go well 10 years later.
Yeah, but
probably it.
but it, I mean, I get it. You know, we can go through. There's a whole science thing about that too. But
Yeah.
it's not important. What matters is like who cares. Like I always say, they just didn't know. You know, or there were certain things that shined, or they were attracted to. You know, it's a sexual thing sometimes. It's the reality of it. You know, I mean, again, there's a, believe me, even though you think that they might have a preference, they will change their preference for the right guy, if that makes sense. That makes sense?
I guess I can agree with that because I used to date a. Shit, I don't want to bring this out. Just do it.
Your turn, bro.
Talk about it, man. It's your turn. I used to date a. I don't want to say date. I used to be with a lady that had a kid with a Mika guy. Yeah, and now she's dating. She dated me, which was a Hmong guy. Yeah, so I guess I can say that, but I don't know if it was like. Obviously, it wasn't the looks. That's for sure.
What?
You don't give yourself
Good-looking
enough,
guy, man.
You don't give yourself enough credit. But anyways,
yeah, yo, good looking guy.
No, I never looked at myself like that though. I always looked at myself as like I always try to be well spoken. That's one thing that I always try to do.
yeah, and that's a huge trait that we don't talk enough about. But to tap into your particular scenario, your situation there, I think it's a little bit more. We'll talk offline about that because there's actually something else to it. But yeah,
Just say it.
That's it. Bring it up. I would
Say
say
it.
I would.
It might be a good
Share
topic.
the audience with love.
all right. Well, you said she had a kid with somebody else before she dated you, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what happens is when women typically have gone through that stage where they have a kid, their desire and their needs for certain traits change, right? So back to your point, maybe when you're young, you know, there's certain things about what women are attracted to. It's just, you know, it's different, you know, and it transforms.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is what she might have liked back then, it's transformed now that she's older and she has a kid, you know. Now, because of that, I don't like the way that you put it when in terms of, you know, like you don't see yourself in that light. You know, it has nothing to do with your looks is what I'm trying to say. It's like, that's just one aspect, you know what I'm saying? And so take that out of the picture. Okay. It's just, maybe it was just the attraction traits that I was talking about earlier is because you were well-spoken, because you carried yourself a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's because you're a fighter. It's all of these other things that we need to start thinking more of and stop thinking it's just this one tool that gets you everything. It doesn't. And I've done this long enough and spoken to many, many people, rich, you know, super fit, you know, poor people, all these people, they even get more girls. It just, we stop thinking about this stereotype is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all. And I want it to go back to the guys and that particular person. Like, guys, it's stop thinking like that and start doing things, you know, start touching grass, start experiencing life. And you might see that, dude, the world is big out there and there's plenty of people that actually like you. It's actually not as hard as you think it is, but it is because you're not trying. That's all. But I don't know. They're making robots now, so I don't know. They're making robots. So now, and maybe all this stuff is going to be obsolete. But actually, I'm joking, but I know the reality is this. No matter what, we as human beings, we need connection. We need connection. We need the real thing. and it's going to be easy. It's going to be easier to kind of disregard that, but we're always going to desire it, right? So let's say you might have the ability to go buy a robot for $30,000 right now. Great, you can buy it, but you're gonna know really fast. It's just a matter of time, just like a video game. You get tired of that real video game real fast. It's the same thing. You're gonna desire human interaction. You're gonna desire that connection. And we all need that. We cannot go without that. So this is why, to go back to your original question, why I did that, this is another reason, because I want, the world's going to be a better place if we all learn how to build that connection a little bit better. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm compelled. That's why I feel drawn to having to have these conversations more, because we're not working the right muscles that we need to get the things that fulfill us as human beings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
What would be the best way to contact you?
I'm on my YouTube channel. I mean, the NV Life, I'll start streaming stuff soon, but I mean, doing more uploads and stuff like that, but it's easy. And my email, I'll give that to you too. I'm starting to answer. There's a thing I was doing where you could email me questions, because a lot of people are scared to ask questions, like that. So you can email me questions. I'm happy to address those too. That's probably easier, but you can contact me. It's not hard. I'm on Instagram too, the NV Life, easy. So, oh, NV though, I spell it with the initials N, letters N and V. So that's what that is.
Okay.
Nice. I'm going to take another break.
Cool.
And then we'll come back. Chapter 3, we'll probably discuss about stories. Yeah, we'll tell some stories, and then if you wanna share some of the stories and experience that you had,
Sure.
and so that maybe some audiences out there that can relate to it,
Yeah.
they can definitely jump on that if they have any questions.